Hello, this is Dr. Today I have Dr. Ted Naiman with me. I usually mention him in my videos regarding the PE diet and how we should be eating more protein than energy in our daily diets. Hello, Dr. Ted Naiman.
Hello, hi.
Hello, can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Dr. Ted Naiman, and I'm a primary care doctor here in Seattle in the United States. And I've been researching diet and exercise and health for about 20 years. And that's both personally and professionally one of my hobbies. And so I recently wrote a book called The PE Diet that just talks all about diet and exercise and their effects on health.
Okay, I usually mention your name in my videos, and I usually mention the PE diet in my videos. But it's a major concern for people. People are usually scared of eating protein, especially animal protein, because of the animal fat paradigm. I explain it a lot, but I need you to explain it your way. How can we make the regular person comfortable with eating a lot of protein? The person that is not a bodybuilder or anything. They think they shouldn't be eating so much protein, and they don't need enough of too much protein, especially if it's like eggs and meat and stuff. So how can you convince the regular person that they need a lot of protein more than energy?
Well, I like to look at what humans have always eaten throughout our evolution and throughout history. And if you look at what animals eat in nature, including humans, we are basically ingesting entire other living creatures. We're eating an entire animal or we're eating an entire plant. And we get this very nice mixture of both the protein in that plant or animal and also the non-protein energy, the carbs and fats in that animal. What we've done in the modern food supply is to just strip out all the non-protein energy, the carbs and the fats, and preferentially eat those instead. And so we're actually eating a really abnormally low protein diet in modern society. I think the problem is not so much that we're not eating enough protein. Most people eventually get enough protein, but they have to massively overeat carbs and fats in order to get that protein. And we're doing that because we're eating foods that are so high in carbs and fats. Humans have invented agriculture, and we did this as a way to maximize the carbs and fats in our diet. And as a result, we have all these refined carbs, all these refined fats, all the sugar, flour, and oil. And it's all abnormally low protein. And so I think the focus needs to be not really on eating that much more absolute protein, but eating foods with a higher protein percentage. So you're getting way less carbs and fats when you do eat the same amount of protein.
So this is like the regular normal animal protein, like eggs or meat. It already has a high protein to energy ratio, right?
Right, or what,
It's not
or
that I can.
perfect ratio.
Okay.
Mhm.
What people usually eat is they eat enough protein, but from the wrong sources, like from rice, from potatoes, from they have protein. I think everything has protein. So
Right.
macro speaking for people who count macros, they might be getting their protein, but it's not the regular or the recommended ratio between protein and energy.
Correct. Right.
That's
Everyone's
it.
eventually getting the right
Okay.
protein, but way too much energy.
Because I heard you before talking in an interview or a lecture. You were saying that in order to get our needed amount of protein, we'll have to eat a lot of energy to compensate or to reach this amount of protein. If we're having it from like plant-based sources or stuff.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay. I Okay, I need to get to the point where people think that only bodybuilders or weightlifters need protein, but regular people don't need to eat like 4 eggs in the morning or 3 eggs in the morning or half a chicken by lunch and stuff. People have this paradigm where only lifters should eat a lot of protein, other people should just eat carbs and stuff.
Yeah, even someone who's not exercising or not a bodybuilder is going to suffer if they're eating a low protein diet. They're going to have less muscle and less bone and less lean mass, and it's just going to be worse for their health in general.
Yeah, and muscles are not just for shape, because people think that we gain muscle just to look good or to look like a bodybuilder. It's also for our metabolism, for our general health, even if you don't want to be a bodybuilder.
Well, the reality is everyone is a bodybuilder, whether they know it or not. And you can either
Can you
build a
explain
body.
that?
Well, I see in my practice, in my medical practice, I see people who are extremely frail, and we have elderly people who, they can't get out of a chair without using both hands, and they're so weak that if they start tilting over more than a few degrees, they're going to fall and break a hip. And we see all this frailty and weakness and osteoporosis, low bone, low muscle. And these people have a lot of problems later in life. And studies have shown that the stronger you are, the longer you're going to live. So having muscle and having strength is literally going to keep you alive longer. It's like a retirement plan. It's like money in the bank for your health
Life
retirement.
insurance. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sure.
So we're
can you
all
tell us
bodybuilders.
about your yeah. I want you to tell me more about your home gym, because most people say they don't have time to go to the gym, and it's because of the pandemic and stuff. We still have our gyms open, but a lot of people are freaked out to go. So what's your recommendation for like the regular person who doesn't want to be a bodybuilder or anything, but just want to do some workouts to maintain their health and their muscle mass?
Right. So I love calisthenics, and that's just body weight exercises. And my whole workout is
Yeah.
really just push-up variations, uh, various push-up variations, pull-up variations, and leg exercises like
Yeah.
squats, squat jumps, or lunges. And you can really work out your whole body in about
That's
10,
all
15
body
minutes.
weight.
Right. It's just push-ups,
Yeah.
pull-ups, squats. I'm in my living room where I have a bunch of exercise equipment here, which is actually my wife's. I don't even use this. Like she has a Peloton
Yeah.
treadmill, but I don't even really.
Also, you don't use any machines?
I usually don't use any
Okay.
machines.
Not
No,
even bands, not even dumbbells?
I have a pull-up bar. So my whole workout is just using basically
That's
a
it.
pull-up bar, right? So I use the floor for push-up variations. I'm
Okay.
doing planche push-ups, diamond push-ups, one-arm push-ups. I'm doing all sorts of pushing exercises just on the
Okay.
floor. I do use the pull-up bar for levers and pull-ups and chin-ups and things like that. And then leg exercises for me: squat jumps, squats, lunges, single leg squats like a pistol squat.
Yeah.
And I just do my whole workout that way. Cardio for me, I usually just go outside and run up a hill, something like that. And so you really don't need any exercise at all. In the book, we have this tiny little 7-minute workout, push, pull legs,
Yeah.
using basically no equipment, except you do need something to pull on. You have to have something you can pull on, either a doorway pull-up bar or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
you really don't need a ton of time or equipment or anything to work out.
Yeah. The PE diet book is mainly pictures. So I think even someone who doesn't understand a lot of English can get it, right? You can get the
Probably,
idea.
yes. Uh-huh.
I usually post the picture of the too much protein. I remember the scale you were doing in the book of too much
Mm-hmm.
protein compared to too little energy.
Right.
This is actually the main idea, because I am a low carb advocate and the intermittent fasting and ketogenic advocate, but usually I do not give the very, I think, regular advice of ketogenic doctors of 70% fat. I never recommended 70% fat. I just recommend high protein, and like the rest of your energy, it's either from carbs or from fats, which is what
Right.
I learned from you.
Mm-hmm.
So you will get into ketosis anyway by lowering carbohydrates. You don't have to be low in protein, because some people think protein is going to get them out of ketosis. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you definitely, basically there's no amount of protein you can eat that will get you out of ketosis. You will have a lighter ketosis if you're eating a ton of protein, but it's
Okay.
not going to
Yeah.
completely bump someone out of ketosis. So I think if someone's doing what you're describing, prioritizing protein and then eating less carbs and fats, they're basically going to be in a light ketosis, except for maybe right after eating a lot of carbohydrate. And I think
Yeah.
that's more beneficial than just targeting fat, eating a bunch of fat, and being in a deep ketosis. Doesn't seem to really improve fat loss at all.
I think ketosis is the way, it's not the goal. I think people turn ketosis to be the goal. We want to be in ketosis, even if there is no extra benefit just for ketosis itself, right?
Exactly,
It's the way
exactly.
we're getting to our goal of lowering insulin and getting rid of most of our body fat. There
Right.
is a point where you usually mention in your videos, which I didn't almost hear any doctor talk about, but Dr. Ted Naiman, which is mixing carbs and fats. I usually
Oh,
mention
right.
it in my videos, but I want you to explain it to people. How could this be one of the main reasons for insulin resistance?
Gotcha. So there are almost no foods in nature that are high in carb and high in fat together. The few exceptions are nuts and dairy. So, like milk,
Yeah.
mammalian milk is high in lactose or milk sugar and milk fat at the same time. And it really drives overeating. And that's how we get baby cows to be adult cows, as fast as possible. And things like nuts are high in carb and fat at the same time. High carb, high fat, high energy density, basically high calorie, low protein. And these foods radically drive overeating. And that's why we see hibernating omnivore mammals like bears and squirrels are able to eat so much of it and gain so much fat. And so you can buy obesogenic rat chow that is specifically designed to make a lab rat as fat as possible. And it's very specifically high carb and high fat together, and the protein's pretty low. So, like, your very best obesogenic rat chow will be only 10% protein and then 45% carb and fat at the same time, ideally with a refined carb and refined fat like sugar and oil, because that makes energy density really high. And studies show that all omnivore mammals will just automatically overeat by about 30 or 40% of calories if they're given a food that's high energy density carb and fat together. And that's really what the modern food supply is all about. If you look at all the foods that we crave and that we love and that we're addicted to, French fries and potato chips and candy bars and pizza and donuts, they're all this same recipe. It's like 40 to 50% carb and fat, maybe 10% or around there in protein. And all these
Okay.
foods are super obesogenic. And we have these cafeteria, it's called a cafeteria diet study in animals, where we just feed lab animals pretty much human junk food, and they would just immediately just balloon up. And it's because of this combination of, I call it the trifecta in the book. It's high carb, high fat, high energy density, which you basically get when you combine a
Okay.
refined carb and refined fat together. So that's really the single thing that's driving the entire obesity and diabetes epidemic is refined carbs and refined fats together, because it's so addictive and so rewarding in your brain. And then the protein is so diluted that you can easily overeat these foods.
Yeah, I think you're one of the very few low carb doctors who do not like say it's just the carbs, even if it's pure carbs. Some doctors believe that we shouldn't be eating carbs, even if we don't have insulin resistance or anything. We shouldn't be eating carbs. Humans don't shouldn't be eating carbs. You think it's the combination of both. It's not just carb is
Right.
evil, right? Okay.
Right, right. The low carb people are right, and the low fat people are right. And it's only when you see both of those together that you really kind of get the whole picture.
Yeah, that's why some vegans actually do really good.
Oh, yes.
They don't eat any fat. They don't eat any fat. They just eat pure carbs. But it's not just about overeating. When it comes to mixing high fat and high carbs, it's not just it causes overeating, because I heard you saying in a lecture before that fats and carbs are metabolized reciprocally.
Right. Correct. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'll need you to explain this point more to the audience of how can when we add carbs and fats, they literally cannot be metabolized at the same time.
So the default is that your body's always burning fat when
Yeah.
you're not eating any carbohydrate. So your body's always burning fat when there's no carbs around. As soon as you eat carbohydrate, you are immediately smoothly displacing your fat oxidation until the carbs get oxidized. Now, that's not a problem as long as you're not overeating those foods. Like if you're very careful to not eat too much, you're not going to have any problems metabolically as long as you're a metabolically healthy person. So if you're thin and you have plenty of room to dispose of glucose and fat and you're metabolically healthy, you can eat carbs and fats together and your body will just very smoothly switch back and forth between the two. And that's actually what you want. You want metabolic flexibility,
That's
so it
metabolic
doesn't matter.
flexibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't, if you're overloaded with fat, if you have way too much fat in your body and way too much fat in your cells and way too much fat in your bloodstream, eating carbs is just going to make your blood sugar go through the roof and your insulin and glucose goes up really high. And this is that carbohydrate intolerance of metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance and prediabetes and diabetes. And that's why carb restriction is really helpful in people who are overweight and insulin resistant. But if you're thin enough, you should be able to eat the two of them together without any problems. It's just the combination of the refined carb, refined fat together that rewards the brain and drives overeating. So you really
Yes.
crave things like potato chips and you end up overeating them. But metabolically, they work together. It's just you have to understand that the default is fat until carbs are present, and then your brain glucose until it's gone, and then you're back to fat again. And that's just the way the body works because you have 100 times more fat storage than you do carbohydrate storage.
Not so long ago, people used to say that humans cannot survive without carbs, and we need 130 grams of carbs a day in order for our brain to function properly. And some people are actually still saying this advice to their clients. It is
Right.
actually the opposite of what we're saying. That we naturally function on fats.
Right. But just to play devil's advocate to the low fat people, the amount of carbs you need to eat every day is actually zero. And the amount of fat you need to eat is pretty low. Um,
Mm.
you only need maybe 10 grams of essential fatty acids and maybe 30 grams to make sure your gallbladder works and maybe 50 grams to make sure you have adequate hormone production. But humans don't have to eat a ton of carbs or fat. And what they really need the most of every day, an absolute need, the most important need is protein, protein.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the take home of the PE diet is that protein has to be everyone's focus, every meal, every snack. That is what you need daily. And the carbs and fats are a lot less important and a lot less crucial, especially now that, 76% of humans on Earth are over fat.
The keto advocates who advise people to eat 70% fat, they're gonna cause a problem. It might be somehow different problems in the low fat community, but it's gonna cause as somehow it's gonna cause a problem, because you see people now are adding oils to everything to get into ketosis, because we need fat to burn fat. So I think we changed the paradigm somehow, but not to a better result or a better outcome.
Right. I mean, I've literally seen diabetics in my practice who went on a zero carb diet and were literally eating no carbohydrates at all, but they've actually gotten fatter and more diabetic because of the amount of fat they're eating. Their A1C will go up, their blood sugar will go up. A lot
Yeah.
of keto fans don't even understand how that's possible But as you eat more and more fat and expand all your fat cells and store all this fat ectopically, when you have so much fat in your body and the fat is spilling over to your bloodstream, it displaces this glucose. And so your blood sugar just goes higher and higher and higher. Glucose is this volatile fuel that's effectively floating on top of the fat in your body or your bloodstream. So as you eat more fat, your blood sugar is just going to go higher and higher if you're diabetic. You can see this yourself if you're a diabetic. If you drink a whole gallon of heavy cream or something as a diabetic, when you wake up the next morning, you'll have the highest blood sugar you've ever seen. So overeating fat definitely contributes to insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, high blood sugars, type 2 diabetes, obesity. And I've seen this even on zero carbohydrate diets. And that was another one of the inspirations for me to write this book, because I saw so many people go on these super high fat diets and then actually not really get any better.
Yeah, I think that's why people with insulin resistance or diabetes, when they have like the slightest amount of fat in their fast, it does break their fast. It doesn't do the same with an insulin sensitive person, because people usually ask, does this break the fast? Does this not break the fast? It's not black and white, right? It doesn't apply for
Right.
everybody.
It doesn't apply for everyone, and it's actually probably, well, okay, honestly, my belief is that the real value of intermittent fasting is just a period of time where you're not eating any carbs and you get more fat adapted. So I think as long as you're not eating carbohydrate during that period of time, you're getting the same kind of benefits. So I don't really worry so much about if something breaks someone's fast, because I think the point of intermittent fasting is to go for a certain period of time without carbohydrate, because you're getting more fat adapted. And I think that, so I would eating butter break someone's fast or not? I don't think so, and I don't care, and that doesn't even, it's kind of pointless for me to think of, because the whole point of the fasting, intermittent fasting for me, is just a period of time where you're living off of stored body fat and manufacturing your own glucose and getting more fat adapted and better at fat oxidation. And anything that speeds up fat oxidation is going to be helpful, like exercise or, but I don't think that, I don't think worrying about eating like a little bit of fat, whether that breaks your fat or not, I don't think that's really matters.
If someone is on intermittent fasting and they even broke their fast because they're so hungry and they ate like an omelet or something, it will break the fast definitely, but it will not kick them out of, or it will not stop the fat burning or fat metabolism. It will not switch to glucose metabolism. That's what you mean, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I almost think it doesn't matter. I'm not really militant about fasting. I think that if someone was eating all the right foods, like just a lot of protein, it wouldn't matter if they ate all day long or ate it all in one meal. It's not going to be a big deal. So I think the whole point of intermittent fasting is a period of time where you're not eating carbs, and it just makes you more fat adapted. And you can do the same thing by just eating a low carb diet and not doing any intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, I don't think it's a requirement. It's just helpful for a lot of people who were eating carbohydrate every 2 hours for 16 hours of their day and are super glucose dependent.
Yeah, it works. It works actually very well with insulin resistance patients. But I think also with fasting, people have changed the destination, or the journey into the destination. They focus on the fasting without focusing on why we're doing it in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I need to do that.
Actually, the point you were mentioning, I heard Dr. Benjamin Beckman before saying it's called a mimic fasting state. It's when you eat, but even if you're eating, you're not actually breaking the fast, because you're not switching from fat metabolism to glucose metabolism.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you're almost maintaining fast all day, even when you're eating.
Right.
First of all, I need you to explain the difference between a lean person who's doing intermittent fasting and an insulin-resistant person who's doing intermittent fasting, and how an insulin-resistant person can fast longer than a lean person. This part is clear, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Got
The
it.
second part, the second part of my question is, some people will be very glucose dependent, that they won't even be able to fast for 12 hours. So
Right.
according to your explanation that if you're insulin sensitive, you won't be able to fast for long, they might think that they are insulin sensitive when they're actually so glucose dependent. You got me?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right. So
Yeah.
one of the problems is that there's a limit on how many calories you can harvest from each pound of fat on your body. So studies show that you get maybe 60 calories per kilogram of body fat per 24 hours is about the maximum. It's rate limited how fast you can get fat energy out of your fat cells. So someone who's really, really thin, who only has a few kilos of fat on their body, they're maybe only going to be able to get, 500 calories of fat from that fat tissue per 24 hours. And they're actually going to start breaking down lean tissue and burning it for basically energy and just to stay alive. So that's why as people get thinner and thinner and thinner, it's less helpful for them to fast. And so, like, you have this world record guy who was 400 and something pounds, who fasted for over a year, no problem. He's getting tons of fat energy from his fat stores and also able to break down connective tissue for protein and recycle that. And all he has to drink is water and electrolytes. But then if you have someone who's really, really thin, they're going to start breaking down lean mass a lot faster. And that's why your bodybuilders, your elite bodybuilders, by the time they get on stage, they're eating, at least every 4 hours. They're having, 6 meals a day, protein. And that's just to prevent lean mass loss. So the thinner you get, the less sense it makes to fast for extended periods of time because you're going to lose more lean mass. Having said that, though, I will say that sometimes I see people who really, really struggle to fast at all because they're so hungry. And I think that maybe these people are low on some nutrient that they're not getting enough of, whether it's protein or something else, I don't really know. But I would say that if you're trying to get into intermittent fasting and you're super, super hungry, eat some protein, eat something with nutrients in it because your body probably needs that.
Yeah, I think we should listen to our bodies. I don't think you
Right.
should be very hungry and not eat at all. You would consider eating, but not eating something that will dramatically raise your blood sugar. But if you're
Correct.
really hungry and you didn't finish your 16-hour fast, I think you should eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. For sure.
I think this will be like an information boost for my audience. They would be very happy to see you. I want you to tell me more about your book for people who don't know about it. I have it already. It's only online, right? It's only on
No, it's an actual book now, and you can buy it. The book is called The PE Diet, and it's at thepediet.com. And you can buy hard copies of it there. Now, you can also download a PDF, just a digital version, but there is an actual hard copy of the book, and you can buy it now off of Amazon. It's pretty
that's
much
good news because
anywhere.
last time I checked, you said that there were no hard copies.
Now there's a hard copy. Yeah, you can buy it at thepediet.com, and we ship it anywhere in the world. You can also just go to anywhere books are sold online, usually has it now.
That's great. I'm glad we explained the mixing carbs and fat issue because people didn't get it so much from me. I'm sure you did it. You explained it better. I'm glad we explained the PE diet and the fasting. And I think we should do this again. I'm so glad that I introduced you to the Arabic speaking audience. And this video is gonna be translated. they had to know your view, because they are only listening to one point of view of the low carb community, which is just eat oils and vegetables, basically.
Right.
So I really, really needed you to be here to tell them to eat real food and stop eating just trash, because it doesn't raise our blood sugar. That's not the whole point anyway, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm so honored for you to be here. And I still have this very personal request for you to post more on your channel. I know I insisted a lot, but
I will do that.
yeah, I'll link the PE diet book from your website and from Amazon. I think it's on Amazon, right?
Oh yeah, well, if you just send people to the PEdiet.com, there's an Amazon link in there too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naiman.